Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is the Black Manga Critic here. We um we gotta talk about manga diversity, right? And you know, I I want to say like again, like I think I always want to say, oh, I wish I didn't have to talk about this. I wish I could just keep it moving, and people I could go on Twitter and see all the like diversity. And that's not to say that I don't see all of the like um manga diversity that's around and people are reading different things and I'm getting different suggestions and stuff like that. It's just I think what bothers me is like um I feel like I gotta talk about it, right? Periodically, right? I'm not gonna talk about it every single day, right? Because I don't got the energy for that. I don't. All right. Getting older, the bones are creaking. Okay. I don't got the energy for that. All right. But what I can do is every now and then, throw out a little quick live stream out there, talk about my feelings on the matter. You know what I mean? Hopefully get to some people, change some minds if they need to be changed. All right. Or at the least get people like going in sort of like a more progressive sort of direction. That's always sort of the goal. All right. It's something my fiance always says, like, you can't change, like it's really hard to change people in one day. Can't do it. Can't do it. So it's a process, it's work. It's work. It's like gradual sort of thing. And you try to do that. And obviously there are moments where if it ain't gonna work, you just right? You meet some people, you're like, and you gotta keep moving. Right? There's some people you just know after a certain point, you're like, this ain't you gotta keep moving. But to talk about this like in a sort of more specific sense, I want to just kind of throw out a few things. Mention the hashtag, or the hashtag read them books. Some of y'all know when I used to be in Dustin streams and some other streams and stuff like that, but more specifically like Dustin streams, like people kind of like, notice that I would say that whenever at the end of the streams and stuff like that, I'd be like, read them books. And what does that mean? That just means what it says, like read books, like read more books, read different types of books, read as many things as you possibly can within like reason, within, and like when I say within reason, I mean, how much energy you're going to have in any given day, how much time you have, the things that you generally are pretty well informed on. So, you're not going to read like 10 books on, the geopolitics of like, the Middle East. Like if you've done like an extensive amount of research, and if you're like let's say a scholar of like of that like literature, right? Like I'm not saying go read that every day or anything like that, and then read like 10 books every day, because that's not possible. What I am saying is like you should always try to be more informed about certain things. If you aren't, you should always sort of like try to be looking at things from a different perspective, again, within reason. Like I'm not gonna like sit for like 5 hours and like watch, or read like crazy amount of like conservative like literature, or neo-Nazi like literature or anything. Like I'm not doing that, right? I'm not doing it. But again, it's just see what's over there. See what's over there. Check it out. You know what I mean? See how you feel about those particular things. See what the sort of rhetoric is, and sort of be able to say, hey, okay, I looked at that stuff. Now my sort of opinions on certain matters are even more specific and informed and stuff like that. Read them books, all right? And when I say read them books, it doesn't just mean read books. It means like watch videos, read articles if you have access to them. Obviously, access is a big thing, right? I don't have I have access now because like I'm going to school and and everything like that. So I have access to certain journal articles and stuff like that. But when you're not in school, like having that access is very difficult. Having access to a lot of things is difficult, period. If you don't got the money, if you don't got the resources. So I'm just saying, again, within reason, read them books, read them articles, watch those videos, watch those conversations, listen to those podcasts, do all of that work. I promise you, things are going to be, that you're going to be way more informed, and it'll be a lot easier for you to maybe try to change some minds, or to get people go moving in the right direction, or a more progressive direction. All right. So manga diversity, okay, is very much so tied to this, because almost not, I would say every day. I'm not gonna say every day because that's not true. But I think too often, what I'll see is, oh, and what's good, Sausage Lord? What's good, Shaded Dang? all right, is too often what I'll see is like people will be like, yo, why is everybody talking about the same manga, you know what I mean, on Twitter, or on YouTube or whatever. And it's like that's complicated, right? One, that's complicated. And I don't want to sort of make it seem as if, to say, well, yes, of course, like the vast majority of people on Twitter are talking about the same things, and there's nobody on Twitter that's talking about maybe the manga that you want to talk about, or sort of diverse breadth of manga titles, right? Like that's on Twitter. Like Twitter is a massive sort of place. So I think when people sort of like, oh, nobody's talking about these titles over here, it's like people are talking about those titles. It's just you're probably not following those people, and you're probably not you've probably surrounded yourself with people who are much more likely to talk about the like same old shonen and seinen titles that people talk about. Like it's like there's a certain kind of work. Again, work is really, really important here. That's something I think people don't want to do. People don't want to do that work. They don't want to seek out individuals who are reading different things. They don't want to follow those people. They don't want to take suggestions. They don't want to look up videos of suggesting different types of manga titles. But they want to be like, oh, everybody's talking about the same thing. Like that's not true. Like when I look at my thread, people obviously, like, yes, they are talking about those titles, but they're also talking about a whole bunch of other titles. All right, people out here standing Banana Fish. They're out here standing Haikyuu. They're out here standing Princess Jellyfish, right? But those are two different titles, right? Very different titles. But people are standing all these different types of things. People are standing Nausicaa. People are standing Battle Angel Alita. People are standing. I'm standing Nana. People are standing Otherworld Barbara. People are standing a whole bunch of things. You know what I mean? But it's like if you don't follow those certain people, you're not gonna know. You're not gonna know, right? And I think people have to take, again, like accountability is a big thing. If y'all ever watched The Grapevine, which is one of my favorite YouTube channels, shouts out to The Grapevine, of course, right? And there's a dude named Mouse Jones, like who is always saying like, yo, my favorite word, accountability, right? And accountability is like really important because, again, if you are out here on Twitter, on YouTube, and you only follow the same certain types of people, all you're gonna see on your feed is, oh, let's have a conversation. Like let's have who's stronger, Zoro or Sanji? That's what you're gonna see every day. You're gonna see that every day because those are the people that you're following. Those are the people that like, and the people that those people are following are also having the same conversations. So it's gonna be real hard for you unless you're putting in some modicum of effort to either avoid that stuff or to see something different in tandem with like the stuff that you already see, right? So again, like work, you got to put in the work, right? When I came on Twitter, one thing I did, I put in the work. I was like, okay, I like at first I was like, all right, let's see who I got to follow to sort of get in on the scene and and whatever. And when I came in, I was trying to talk with a lot of people about comics and stuff like that. That's where I started, and I think in some ways the kind of conversations about comics and diversity, like that's its own sort of like three-headed monster that like, we still have to like deal with. But what I will say is like, it was much easier to find people to sort of talk about certain series. Let's say like if I want to have a conversation about this one series called Bitch Planet by Kelly Sue DeConnick, right? Like it'd be so easy like for me to go on to Twitter and to find a bunch of people to talk about that series because so many people love that series and so many like, right? But if it's like Otherworld Barbara, that's gonna be hard. Like I'm not saying I can't find people because there are people out here. There are people like I literally could have like some sort of a conversation with the translator of Otherworld Barbara, right? But a lot of people don't even know that she exists. People don't even know that Rachel Thorne exists. They have no clue, right? They don't even know that Otherworld Barbara exists by Moto Hagio, right? Like they have no clue, right? But it's like you got to put in the work to do that. You got to put in the work to like look out for that stuff at the very least on Twitter. On YouTube, I think like in some ways it might be a little bit harder, but not really, because like you got a search bar. You could do that for Twitter, you do that for YouTube. Throwing, click in the search bar, type in Josei manga, shoujo manga, manga and women, manga and LGBTQ. What you could type in any of that stuff and stuff will pop up. And like again, it's effort, it's work. You got to be able to put into work and say, oh, I'm looking for different stuff. I'm looking for stuff that's quite different from the stuff that I'm used to seeing and people talk about, and the stuff that I'm used to reading. You got to put in the effort. All right, and that's not to say that I don't see that effort. I know people that like are really, really good about asking me about like certain titles and stuff like that, and like saying, hey, I want to read some different things. Like, can you let me know what what you would suggest and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's something that I like seeing. Like, and people ask me, so I would never say like people don't ask me. People definitely ask me. Okay. So, very quickly, who was it that asked me? Sasha Lloyd. Okay, so let me give you a brief synopsis of Otherworld Barber, which is dope, by the way. All right. So this is volume 1. All right. So I just pulled up something. So it's easy. So it's easier for me to sort of have like a concise sort of like, not synopsis, but just like, a quick like idea, just like a quick idea. Cause I think a synopsis is a little bit more involved than people sort of think, but just a quick snippet. All right. In the latest English language release from one of the most influential manga creators of all time. Okay. Tokyo is a dream pilot, a detective who enters criminals' dreams to discover their motives. Okay. While investigating Aoba, who killed her parents and ate their hearts when she was 9, he discovers a phantom island named Barbara. Then there's a mysterious and missing geneticist, an eccentric clergyman, a grieving grandmother granted temporary youth, a psychologist killed by a freak tornado. Hagio offers a sci-fi explanation for these seemingly random paranormal elements and makes it all matter with believable characters and complex and subtle relationships. All right. And there are two volumes. All right. I've only read the first volume because I've been waiting to buy the second volume. But I every time I've gone to my manga shop, like every time I've seen it, I'm like, I want to buy it now, but I can't because it's an expensive volume. Like, you know what I mean? I gotta wait. But the first volume is like fire. It's really good. The art is on point. Okay. And it's something that I think is just like, it's just an unknown, like in the West. Like, I think there are a lot of people that know about it. A lot of the people that I follow know about it and have talked about it. And including the translator of Otherworld Barber, who y'all should follow. Okay. Rachel Thorne. All right. Incredibly informed, scholar of like manga, literature, all that jazz. Okay. Incredibly well informed Japanese history. Like, if you're ever looking to just like learn about any of that stuff, like in some sort of detail, definitely follow her on Twitter. Definitely. Okay. So I would check that out. I would just go check that out. You know what I mean? That's something for me. Like I'm always suggesting it. Like it's one of the things that I think is just, it's so well done. And it's not even so much that it's like different, but it's just really, really interesting. And I think it's got its own sort of vibe. And I like that. And I think that's one thing I really like in manga. Like when manga sort of have their own like vibe and, I don't know. It's just dope. It makes it even more dope than it already is. But I think that like, that's just one title. There are so many other titles that I think, if that one, people talk about, but they don't talk about it in terms of like in the same level of like notoriety, right? Like, or right, in terms of, or the same scale as like a My Hero or One Piece or Naruto, or Dragon Ball Z or something like that, or even like a Hunter x Hunter. You know what I mean? Like it's like, and that like, or Sailor Moon, right? And which makes sense because like they don't have the same levels of notoriety, but at the same time, again, I go back to like work. This is stuff that you have to do. You gotta be able to do that work and say, oh, okay, I gotta look, I gotta seek out other people. I gotta seek out like people on Twitter. I gotta seek out people on YouTube. I gotta seek out people on Reddit if you want to do that. Because I know sometimes Reddit can be really, really toxic at times. I mean, all these platforms can be very, very toxic at times, but I know people are sort of like, yo, Reddit is like super, super, super toxic. So if that's something that you're trying to avoid, okay, I get it. Like that's understandable. If you try to avoid all social media, also that's understandable. Like you know, you don't want to do that, that's fine. All right. But I think that it is helpful so that like, you know, for me, like I'm always getting suggestions of different manga, like manga that are in all these different demographics and different genres and subgenres and stuff like that. Because like because of the people that I follow and the people that they follow, you know what I mean? It's always something different. I'm always hearing about, you know, this. There was this one manga that seemed really, really interesting that I wanted to pick up, but I didn't pick up the last time I was at my manga shop, but I really wanted to pick it up. So it's one that came out pretty recently. Man, I can't remember. I can't remember who's putting it out. I'm terrible, but I'll look for it later and I'll mention it on Twitter. But it's just like, yo, like I get different manga suggestions literally every day. You know what I mean? So when people are like, oh, you know, what should I read? What's good, John Boy? What's good? So when people are like, oh, what should I read? What should I check out? There are people that you can legit follow who will say like, who will tell you like, yo, this manga recently came out. This translation came out. This translation came out. This translation came out. You know what I mean? You could follow, and there are translators on Twitter who you can follow, who are really nice people. I haven't read Walking Dead comics just because like it's not something that I felt like I could read for a long period of time. Like I just like I think what's dude's name? Robert Kirkman, right? Like I just could not read that stuff. Like it was just too gory. Like it was just too gory for me. Like and which is weird because like so, a lot of times gore doesn't bother me too much. But I don't know what it is about like The Walking Dead and like Invincible. Like Invincible, I finished, but it took a long time for me to like get through that. Like it took a long time to get through that for me because it was just so intense. It was just like, oh my goodness, whoa. And The Walking Dead is like even worse, and it's just like consistently like my mood was just always down whenever I read it, and I just like I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, so I had to stop. And I think that's something for me. Like I've been very sort of careful about, you know, what I decide to read, when I decide to read it, how often I read certain things. And that's why I think, again, manga sort of diversity and that variety is really, really important. Because some people will just like consistently read like messed up stuff. And that's not to say, you know, things that like have like a very sort of like somber sort of tone and sort of almost vicious sort of tone, right? And I think for me, it's like, if that's what you want to do, that's do you. But I think for me, okay, for me, it was really important to say like I can't read all that stuff at the same like all the time because like it affects my mood. Like the stuff that I read affects my mood, pretty intense. So like if I'm reading something, like if I'm reading like a detective sort of like mystery manga or something like that, my mood's gonna be like, yo, I'm trying to solve some mystery. I'm trying to like join this. I'm trying to get with the Scooby Gang and like, you know, and like that's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen to me because that's like these stories really, really affect how I think about things, how I move through, you know, this world at any given sort of moment. You know, if I'm reading like a romance manga, right? If I'm reading something like that, like that, it's gonna affect my mood. I'm gonna be like, you know, I'm gonna probably be thinking about like my fiance way more at any given moment. Even though I think about my fiance all the time, but it's just like there's a certain like mood that you get in. You know what I mean? When you read certain things, and I think for me, like I need that diversity because like I'm always like just wanting to experience all these different like feelings and emotions and experiences and perceptions and all these different things. So I can like again I understand. World Trigger did return. World Trigger did return. I think it's going to be monthly pretty soon. But I think there were supposed to be like I don't know how many issues. I can't remember the number. It might have been like 4 or 6 like in Jump. I want to say probably 4, and then after that, it's gonna be monthly. So it's been weekly, and it's in Weekly Shonen Jump right now. But tomorrow, I believe the subscription is going to change. So you just have access to like all these different things, all these different Weekly Shonen Jump manga, and I think World Trigger will probably be one of them. So, oh no, yeah. So World Trigger will probably be one of them because like they're not gonna have like the sort of typical like digital sort of magazine access. I think World Trigger is gonna be a manga that you'll be able to have access to, period, because it's a Weekly Shonen Jump title. So, or it might not be. It might not be anymore. It might be moving to a different magazine, and thus like it might not be accessible. But I feel like it should still be accessible because it started out as a Weekly Shonen Jump title. So I don't know how that's gonna work out. But an omnibus you're talking about, like an omnibus sort of edition. Yeah. I don't know if World Trigger has one of those. But omnibus editions are dope. I think whenever I collect those, it's usually like for like shorter sort of series. Like I have like an omnibus, like I have the omnibus collection of Cardcaptor Sakura. I got that as a gift for my fiance because she's a massive Cardcaptor Sakura fan. And that might be an understatement. I have like One Piece omnibuses up to I want to say like Impel Down, I believe, and then like I just kind of stopped collecting them because like I didn't really have money to like keep buying them like that, and they were coming out like at a different rate. But I think now I'm probably gonna start collecting them again because the omnibuses have reached the new world. So I think I'm gonna start again. You know, once I figure out where I'm gonna put them all, right? Yeah, not all series do them, and I think some, and also sometimes the omnibuses aren't like of the greatest quality. Sometimes they just don't read particularly well. They're like too thick, so like the pictures are kind of unwieldy in the sort of crack of the book. So I think sometimes omnibuses are great, and sometimes they don't really work for a certain series. You know, so yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that. But again, like. Seek out people. This is really, really important. Like you like follow like Manga Maguda, like Manga Maguda on Twitter. Like always putting out like suggestions. Follow Jocelyn Allen, who is a translator. Follow Rachel Thorne, who is another translator. Right, both of them do like incredible, great work. I've gotten a chance to talk with both of them, and they're both just like really dope people. So it's like check them out. And there are people who do that all the time. Like there are some publishers who are really good about saying, hey, we're coming out with this thing. Like Denpa is a new sort of like imprint that came out recently that's putting out different sort of different types of manga. Seven Seas puts out really interesting things. I think Seven Seas is sort of one of those like manga sort of publishers that is really sort of, I think, to me, well known because it puts out a lot of like LGBT QIA like content and to me that's like awesome. And the story and some of the stories are just like really, really good. You know what I mean? The Girl from the Other Side is a dope title. I have 2 videos where I just suggest manga. And me and like Naya and some other people that were on there, we just suggest manga. We just suggested like different manga titles. And it is great. Naya, I think, also suggested some light novels on one of those videos. I can't remember which one, but check those out. And I'm not saying like you better read these titles. I'm just saying like try, just like try to try reading this thing. Read a chapter, see how you feel about it. If you're like, you know what I mean, then I can't force you to keep reading something. I can't. So it's like that's on you. You know what I mean? If you don't want to read that, then if you don't want to keep reading, then don't keep reading. But I think it's important to try to read different things. Like for me, like if I never tried like to read Piano no Mori, if I was like, oh, I don't know, just like I'm not gonna read this. Like if I never read that, man, I think I'd be a different person, honestly, because it's like it's my favorite manga personally, right? I'm not saying it's like technically the most brilliant or anything like that, but it's just personally my favorite. Right, it's very different from sort of like making a case for it being the best manga of all time. I just think, like, for me, it's my favorite manga of all time. But that was like for me like a massive like sort of gateway manga. It allowed me to be much more comfortable with just seeing like certain types of friendships, deep homosocial like relationships between guys, and those like right friendships and stuff like that. And like it allowed me to be like, okay, I want to read some of this stuff. I want to read some of that stuff. The art, like there are things that I think there are titles that I think sort of do that for people, and they allow you to branch out a bit. But I think a lot of people, again, what happens is they start reading the same types of stories, right? Even though they might be like particularly different in certain ways, they're very similar in a certain way, right? There's a sort of sense of it's trying to be dark in this way, or it's trying to like relay some sort of message in this like overly sort of philosophical kind of like sort of manner. And it's like, that's not to say that those stories aren't good or anything like that. It's just to say that when you start reading the same sort of types of stories over and over and over and over and over, I think in some ways it affects you in a certain way. You know what I mean? It like, you know, in some ways, like as a reader, you become a bit stagnant. Not in the amount that you're reading, but just in what you're sort of reading and what you're getting from it and what sort of vibes you're sort of getting from it. I think like, you know what I mean? Like you gotta branch out. Same thing, and this is not just with like manga. This is like also with like books. You know, novels, right? I said books, but like manga or books. You know what I mean? So when I say like books, I mean like novels, you know, short story collections, poetry collections, stuff like that. You know what I mean? That where people sort of, you know, because people have this distinction between like these are comics and these are, you know, books, and it's like no, manga or books, comics or books, like because that's why they say comic books, right? So. You know, it's like you have to vary it up. Like you can't just read like, you know, John Clancy all day. No, Tom Clancy, right? You can't read Tom Clancy all day. You can't read all like that's the only thing that you read. Like because those authors like Tom Clancy and like George Patterson, and Nora Roberts and authors like that, like and even like Toni Morrison to like an extent, right? Like authors like and all these different sort of authors, like they're going to be writing in a particular sort of way. They have a certain vibe. A certain like cadence when it comes to their writing and their story structures and stuff like that. That like if you read all the books, you're gonna get it. Like you're gonna understand. Oh, this is definitely a Toni Morrison novel. This is definitely a George Patterson novel. This is definitely a Nora Roberts novel. But you gotta switch it up. You gotta switch it up. Why? Because you get stagnant. All right. You gotta be reading different stories. You gotta be reading about different experiences. And in some ways that's helpful to like, because it helps you sort of empathize and sympathize, relate, just generally relate to other people that aren't like you in a sense. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times, like I think a lot of guys, like sometimes like guys will legit have issues engaging with anyone that's not a cis het guy, right? Anyone that's not a cisgendered, heteronormative, like heterosexual, like dude, they're gonna have a hard time dealing with that because like everything that they sort of learned about like, you know, human experience and stuff like that is not only like right about who they talk to and everything like that. Maybe they just only talk like mostly talk with dudes and their circles are mainly sort of like guys and stuff like that. But the stuff that they're reading puts like, you know, structures sort of like the experience of the woman in such a way that it's like detrimental to their ability to empathize and sympathize and relate with women, period, and other people, period, right? Right, not white women, genderqueer folks, like, period, right? Non-binary folks, like, period. You know what I mean? So it's really, really imperative that you just like diversify your stuff. Diversify your content. Read different things. All right. Again, when I say read them books, I'm saying something that's like it sounds very simple, right? Obviously, because you know a hashtag or something like that. A hashtag has to be kind of simple, but it's just read different things, man. Read different things. Again, I have 2 videos where I suggest different types of manga and stuff like that. You know, and check those out if you want. And also, again, when you're on Twitter, when you're on YouTube, do the work of seeking out different types of people, right? That's the kind of work that you got to do. You got to look out. You got to say, hey, who's talking about, you know, what, you know, and ask questions, right? You don't even just have to seek out those people, but you could say, you could just like throw out a tweet and you know, you could like put a hashtag in and you could say, you know, hashtag manga, like, you know, within like what you're writing, be like, hey, what sort of, you know, what are some good, you know, what are some good like manga titles that aren't like shonen and seinen that you want me to check out, because maybe you've read quite a few shonen and seinen titles like over the course of many years, right? So you want to try something different. You can just go on Twitter, throw in a hashtag manga and whatever it is that you're typing, and you're gonna get quite a few responses, because people are very willing to answer questions like that. People want to give suggestions. People want to see that you're willing to read different types of sort of content, different types of manga, different types of comic books, different types of novels, different types of short stories, different types of poetry, whatever. All right, flash fiction, whatever. Okay, so again, really imperative that you do that sort of work. You go out there, stop, complaining like, oh, everybody's still talking about the same thing. Again, a lot of that has to do with who you follow. All right, who the people that you follow. All right, and who your followers follow. Right, because you're gonna see a lot of that stuff. All that stuff sort of starts to mix up. But for me, again, I see. I don't know. I'm not sure what Weekly Shonen Jump's closest competition is. I'd have to think about that. Maybe Weekly Shonen Magazine. Maybe Shoujo Beat. I don't know. I have to think about it. Kodan. You know what I mean? Like, there are a whole bunch of different ones. You know what I mean? So I have to think about that. But I think, what I'll probably do is I'll look into it. And see what like the sort of closest competition is in terms of sales and stuff like that. But it's like, like One Piece, and One Piece is, of course, is going to be a manga that's going to be oversaturated, right? It's incredibly popular. Again, I love One Piece, but I think lately it's just not been like interesting for me. Right. For me, it hasn't been particularly interesting. And there's a lot of people that have the same sort of feeling, right, about One Piece and where it is right now. And that's like fine, right? Like, and that's why I just stopped like reading it. Like, I was just like, I'm not interested. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that I don't like all the stuff that sort of come before, like Fishman Island and all that jazz, and that I didn't enjoy the Reverie at all. But I think, like, again, there are a lot of things that I'm just like, man. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, why am I following this weekly? I don't want to follow this weekly. I'll wait until 30 chapters or something like that, roll up, and then maybe I'll just read through those, on my own time or whatever. But I think like if you want to read One Piece weekly, read it weekly. I'm not telling you to stop reading it weekly, but I think that it's fine for people to be like, oh, like this is not interesting to me. I'm not really interested, blah, 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 and whatever. But yeah, series like One Piece, right? When Naruto was running, Naruto was incredibly oversaturated. It was ridiculous, right? In some ways, to a lesser extent, because like it was, it was much further back. Like the sort of YouTube manga sort of like community wasn't as big, I think, as it is now, right? Of course, because like time has passed, right? And that community has only sort of gotten bigger and more prominent in certain ways. But those series are always going to be oversaturated, right? One Piece is just going to continue to be more saturated. People are like, right, even now, even as we speak, there are people that are beginning to react to One Piece because they understand that One Piece is significant. It has a significant following on YouTube. And people want to see people react to certain moments, right? And there are a lot of them in One Piece. So you see all these people, they come in, they're like, yo, I'm trying to get that One Piece money. I'm trying to get that One Piece reaction money. Right? That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get that One Piece. They're trying to get that One Piece reaction money. And that One Piece reaction money isn't necessarily like making money reacting to One Piece, but getting followers and then maybe doing other sorts of content, and then getting those followers to watch that content, and then gaining gaining profit off of that. You know what I mean? So it's just like, come on, that's very clear. That much is clear. All right. But it doesn't mean that those people don't enjoy what they're watching and that they don't enjoy One Piece, because clearly when you see those reactors, they love it. They into it. They crying. They cheering. They hype. You know what I mean? They making videos about how much they love One Piece now. So which is dope. All right. But again, markets are always going to get oversaturated, depending, right? Especially if those markets are extremely popular. That's just gonna happen. And it's not really much that you can sort of like do about it in terms of mitigating that oversaturation. But what you can do is say like, hey, I'm gonna create these other markets over here, right? I'm gonna create these other spaces over here where, you know, maybe we're reacting to different things and having discussions about these other things over here. And that creates a sort of like buzz, and people, you know, decide that, hey, if I can do that, let's say like for me, like I'm trying to do that with Hunter x Hunter. If I can do that with Hunter x Hunter, then maybe somebody else might say like, hey, maybe I could do that with whatchamacallit, maybe I can do that with Dr. Stone. Maybe I can do that with Haikyuu. Maybe I can do that with Kimetsu no Yaiba. I have a friend, Gabby, who's trying to start up like, you know, Haikyuu sort of like discussion thing and everything like that. You know what I mean? And once that really, really gets rolling, like I'm gonna be right there with her, because like Haikyuu is dope. Haikyuu is one of the best things in Weekly Shonen Jump, period. And it'll be great to have like, and quite a few YouTubers like that y'all know, Laz, King Recon, Matt B, like they stand Haikyuu. They love Haikyuu. But I think, you know, we got to get to a place where, right, I think now it's gonna be much easier because people will be able to have access to Haikyuu in a way. So legally, right? So now we can sort of have those discussions, and that's gonna get started. But again, like people just even have an issue like reading like sports manga. They can't even get into that stuff. And I'm not saying every sports manga is popular, but like, come on, you know what I mean? Get like Haikyuu is great, all right. And I think like, you know, if you give it a chance, it can be great. But you know, if you don't even read a chapter, then you're just gonna be like, you know, start out with the anime, see how you feel about it. I think like, I feel like there's a term, but I don't really like the term because I think it's offensive. You know, like people always say they're, you know, people used to say Narutards or Bleach tards or Shonen tards and stuff. Like to me, like it's just really, really offensive. So I'm not all right. But I do think that there are people who are just like, I only really like this sort of series, and they haven't read or tried to watch anything else, right? And look, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Like I think seinen and shonen manga, there are like, people think that like they're incredibly different, but like I think when it comes to like battle seinen and battle shonen, like there are too many sort of similarities to ignore, to be like, oh, you know, I'm reading something totally different. Those shonen people are trash. Those seinen people are trash. I'm like, yo, there are too many similarities for y'all to be like, ha ha ha, I'm reading this stuff over here. Ha ha ha, I'm reading this stuff over here. Like, come on, man. You know what I mean? For me, like, I don't think like I wouldn't sort of be like, oh, you know, if you only do those things, like I think now, right? I think in the past I would be like, yo, if you only read like something like that, like you trash. But I'm not gonna say that. I don't think it's like trash. I think it's just like it's just I'm trying to think what the right phrasing is. I think it's disappointing. It's disappointing because there are so many other stories that are amazing, but people will like, if a story has a shoujo tag, they'll be like, nah, right? They'll be like, I'm not trying to read Yona of the Dawn. Nah, shoujo? Nah. I'm not trying to read, you know, nah, really? Josei, right? Nah, I'm not reading that. You know what I mean? And it's just like, come on, those stories are like amazing. They're GOAT. Like they're just great. So check them out. All right. Check them out, right? For those like sort of demographics. Like if they have a demographic like label, they're gonna be like, nah. But check them out. All right. Get out of your own way. Get out of your whole way, folks. Please. All right. If y'all don't know about that greatness, all right, that Ayasa with greatness, all right, you're missing out. Okay. Shoujo super underrated. Josei is like hilariously, I don't even know if it's underrated. I think like I feel like, right, in certain circles, right, these particular things are underrated and just not acknowledged at all, right? If again, when I'm on Twitter, I see the Josei love. Josei love's out here. Shoujo love's out here. Okay, they out. Okay. But if you're in particular circles, you're never going to hear about that because those people don't read that content because they have some sort of ideas about what they're going to be experiencing, right? But again, like when people hear like the term like boys love soda manga or something like that, they'd be like, oh, or this like, or a story about like let's say a teenage boy who likes another teenage boy. They're gonna be like, oh no. They like, right? People will literally be like, oh, this teenage boy likes another teenage boy. They'll immediately go to like they'll immediately start thinking about like certain like sexual acts and stuff like that. That they're like, nah. You know what I mean? It's just no. Stop. Right? Go read Go For It Nakamura. There ain't no sex in there. Ain't no like intercourse in there. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, son. Come on. All right, just stop. Okay? So it's just like diversify your manga reading, diversify the content, diversify what you talk about. I think like there are a lot of people out here who have what we call clout. And you can use that clout, right? You can use your platform, right, to say, hey, I read this other thing, right? Like, I think in some ways, like, there are certain people who are great about saying, like, yo, I read, some people who are great about saying, like, hey, I read this thing, like, this dope. Like, Naya is, one of my guys, who's just, like, he's always reading different things. He's always talking about the different things that he's reading. And he's always trying to push, like, all these different sort of, like, these different titles. There are other people, like, on Twitter who I think are really, really just like on point when it comes to that. You know what I mean? Marion on Twitter is like just like banana fish stan in the best way, and Marion's always pushing that. You know what I mean? Gabby is always pushing like Tepu, Haikyuu, all these different sort of like titles that are just dope. I can't remember what was it? Beastars. You know what I mean? Like. Oh, she's always pushing like different like types of stuff. Ash is always pushing different types of things. Ash is my guy. Ash, whenever he's sort of reading something, A Bride Story, Helter Skelter, you know what I mean? He's always pushing things. Pink, like he's always pushing different types of content. People on here, Tales of Color as well. You know what I mean? And it's like, shout out to Tales of Color. You know what I mean? It's just like, real. And Banana Fish is so good. Like Banana Fish is so good. I can't even. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Let me not pull out my collection. Let me not pull out the Banana Fish volumes. Let me not do that. But check it out. All right. And I think a lot of things will deter people from reading these types of stories. But it's like these stories are amazing. They do so many different things. And if you are in your own way, like if you get in your own way, you like again the type of stuff that you're like your sort of patterns of reading will become stagnant. They just will. And I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think that's ever a good thing. I sort of like compare it to if you have a person who will only eat certain types of foods, and it has nothing to do with like allergies or how those foods taste or anything like that. They have never tried like certain types of food, and they're like, nah, that stuff's gross. They don't know how it smells, nothing. But they're just like, I'm never gonna eat I'm never gonna eat white chocolate. Or I'm never gonna eat pistachio ice cream or gelato or whatever. Like I'm never gonna eat that stuff. I'm never gonna do that. You know what I mean? But it's like those things are amazing, and you just have to go out. You have to try. You gotta try. You gotta be a little brave. All right. Get out of your own comfort zone. Read some different manga. I think I'm probably gonna stop there, just because I think like this to me is a very like straightforward thing. I think like with especially in the States. If you live in the United States and you have access to like the internet and you can afford like certain things, you know what I mean? You're not really struggling in a certain way. You know what I mean? Fiscally, like go read some manga, go read some different manga. Go read some manga. Go read the first chapter of, Yawn of the Dawn. Go read the first chapter of Banana Fish. Go read the first chapter of Otherworld Barbara. Go read the first chapter of Nana. Go read the first chapter of Cardcaptor Sakura. Go read the first chapter of Wakatoy. Like, go read the first chapter of Go For It Nakamura. Go read the first chapter of The Girl from the Other Side. Go read that stuff. Like, go read that stuff. Like, it's very good. It's all very good. And I think I'm gonna stop there because Moto Hagio was amazing. Yes, the two nanas. Yes, Jumbo. Yes, Tales of Color. Yes, although Motohage was amazing. Yes, okay. And I think like this isn't a particularly hard thing, but what always bothers me is like the pushback. The pushback is always like it's always just kind of like it makes me a little sad, and it's just kind of like why so much pushback? You know what I mean? Why like it's like, well, what if I just don't want to read? I'm like, but why can't you try? And people and it's always like this very like um what's the word I'm looking for? Toxic like toxic sort of idea of like, well, why are you trying to make me do this thing? I'm like, oh, and you know what? It's just like, come on, man. You know, it's always dudes like I generally don't have this problem with anyone outside of like the cishet dude like demographic, right? Outside of that, people are are way more happy to be like, yo, I'm gonna try that out. I'm gonna check that out. Dudes, you always have it's just always like it's almost like it's pulling teeth. It's like pulling teeth with them. You know what I mean? But outside of that, you know, and those dudes would be like, yo, man, you gotta read different stuff, man. You can't just always be reading Naruto and Bleach and that. I'm like, but y'all doing the same thing. You know what I mean? And then if I try to, you know, get you to like, you know, read some of this stuff over here and read some of that stuff over there, then it's an issue. Then it's a problem. Then it's me nagging and doing all this stuff. And it's like, ugh, you know, just read some of the stuff. Read some of the stuff. Try it out. I'm not saying read the entire series. I'm saying read the first chapter. Read the first chapter of any of this stuff. See how you feel about it. See if you think it's particularly interesting. You know, and I'm not going to get into a conversation about why people feel, you know, about where those inclinations sort of to avoid those types of stories come from, because like that always leads me to just like this annoying space where people try to avoid reading things, and then I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And then it becomes a sort of straw man conversation where we were here and now we're over there, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to do that. Read stuff. Read different things. Mina, my kid, one of my kitties is like, yeah, that's me, right? Mina's like, yo, guys, I'm begging you. Mina's like, I'm begging you. Read them books. Read a different manga. Do all that. All right. Yeah. Oh, JoJo. Whew. JoJo's just gotten like consistently better, right? It's just like after like I think part 4. Mina, come here, Mina. You're so loud. Oh my goodness. Mina, what are you doing? Hello. This is my kitty. Hello, Mina. Hello, Booba. Do 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 do. Hello, Mina. Okay. All right. And like, you know, it's just like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's just gotten better. It's just gotten better. Like part 4 was like, boom. He like, yo, and I can just like, okay. 1, 2, and 3, very clear of what, like, it was very, very clear. Certain things were happening, and like, if the aesthetic, everything about it, right? And then you can always tell when, like, at least to me, it's almost like a manga decides to just be like, I'm doing it all. I don't care no more. I don't care no more. You know what I mean? I don't care no more, right? Part 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Come on, those are just very. They're way more like distinct in a certain way, right? Aesthetically and storytelling wise, like, and it, like I think that's where you see the calls for like this, right? The sort of like diversity and the difference in like content and difference in writing and storytelling and all those things like being sort of answered. You know what I mean? It's just like 1, 2, JoJo 1 through 3, beefcake dudes, rah. 4 through 8, beautiful. Okay. I don't think it'll. Yeah, I don't think it will include JoJo. Not tomorrow. I mean, maybe at one point, but not tomorrow, because I think like they have to work on like getting all that stuff like done and translated and into the, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Okay. And they look beautiful. They're beautiful. And it's awesome. All right. Like we stand a Jolene. We do. Okay. So read different things. I think I'm gonna end it here. Read different things. Because I don't want to get this like turn this into like 3 hours or anything like that. Because I can talk about this all day, but read different things. Try to read different things. I like look, I don't want to see arguments for why you shouldn't read different manga and why you shouldn't try to read different manga, because most of those arguments are just kind of like absurd in a lot of ways. They're not particularly useful or progressive in any sense. And obviously I'm not trying to say read read stuff that's like super problematic or things that are like, that should make like human beings uncomfortable, right? I'm not saying read that stuff. I'm just saying like try some different things, take suggestions from people, be more open to that. It's important. It is. All right. I don't want to hear no arguments about, oh, well, what if you just don't want to read that stuff? Like, try reading the stuff. Where's the harm? Where's the harm in that? You know? So I'm gonna stop there. I need to react to. I gotta choose that to either react to Nausicaa or Battle Angel Alita today. I want to do Nausicaa, but Nausicaa is like that chapter is gonna be long, but it's probably gonna be really good. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rest my voice a little bit because I gotta do that. Okay. See ya everybody. See ya Kenneth York. Shout out to Kenneth York, Tales of Color, Family Guy, John Boy. Who else came through? Sasha's Lord came through. Shada Dank came through. Shout out to all y'all for coming through. That was dope. It just makes the conversation better when I have people that are just like, that I can sort of like go back and forth with in a positive sort of way. It's always great. I'm gonna be doing part 2 today. I'm gonna be doing part 2 today of the reaction to the second chapter. I did the first chapter last week, and that was really good. And I'm gonna do chapter 2 today. People have told me that chapter 2 is really good, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't know what time. It's probably gonna be within like an hour or something like that, I want to say. I just like to like rest my voice because like I talk a lot, like, for a living. So it's just, I gotta rest. And I'm probably gonna have to like teach tomorrow. I have to teach tomorrow. So, it is what it is. Thank y'all for coming through. Again, read them books. All right. I'm gonna probably start using the hashtag whenever I talk about this stuff. And I'm the Black Manga Critic, y'all. I'm gonna keep pushing for this stuff. All right. And I'm out, you. Read them books.